I've got a friend, a like-minded conservative, who thinks it's a waste of time for Republicans to try to impeach Joe Biden. And I asked him a pretty pointed question. I said, do you think, objectively speaking, that the impeachment of Donald Trump hurt him politically? Were there people, maybe in the middle, maybe independents, perhaps some Republicans, certainly plenty of Democrats, who said, I can't vote for a guy who has been impeached twice by Congress. Can't do it. Just, I can't pull the lever. And of course, he said, sure. Of course there were people who decided that they couldn't vote for Trump because of the impeachment. If that is true, that there are people who would be influenced by an impeachment of a sitting president, well, then of course Republicans should fight fire with fire and certainly begin the impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden. In closed-door House testimony yesterday, Biden's close, former dear friend and business partner, Devon Archer, said Hunter Biden put Joe Biden on the phone with business associates roughly 20 times. Remember, Joe Biden has continually denied that he knew anything at all about Hunter Biden's shady business dealings. Here was Karl Rove yesterday on Fox News Channel.
There was corruption right from the get-go. And the fact that the vice president, then vice president, now president, thinks that's his to advantage to say, I never talked to my son about his business. He should have talked about him and said, son, you're involved in a corrupt company. I'm in charge of the policy of the United States government to discourage corruption in Ukraine, and you're embarrassing me. You and Devon Archer ought to get the heck out of there. And instead, we had this mealy-mouthed explanation by Goldman that, we never saw him talking about business deals. Well, what the heck was he doing on the phone? What do you think Hunter wanted him on the phone for? To say, remember, my dad is the vice president of the United States. I'm a big dog. He's a big dog. Do business with us. That's exactly what it was all about.
We all know what has been going on. The Biden family has been selling its name for money for years. Some could argue that when you're the vice president of the United States, that's an un-American, perhaps even traitorous thing to do. To use your name and sell it to foreign adversaries like China in order to line your family's pockets. Of course we should be impeaching. And when my friend this morning admitted that the impeachments hurt Trump politically to some degree, maybe not fatally, I don't know. It couldn't have helped. You think an impeachment helps a president? You think it would look good for Joe Biden to be impeached? Let the Democrats dismiss it the way we dismissed the Trump impeachment. It doesn't change anything. Doesn't change a thing. Devon Archer is saying that Hunter touted the Biden brand. It was all about the brand. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, presidential candidate, in an interview with Bret Baier last night, pointed out that if this were anybody else but Hunter Biden, they'd already have this guy behind bars.
Well, this is why we say there's two standards of justice. If Hunter were a Republican, he'd be in jail by now. You look at all this smoke, and yet the FBI, where's the search warrants? Where's the grand jury? Where's the aggressiveness that they've shown going after some Republicans? You just don't see it.
Including former President Trump.
Including former President Trump. I mean, compare how they handled the Mar-a-Lago. They went through everything they could to get any piece of information. They are not doing that with Hunter. Of course, they didn't do it with Hillary back in 2016. So we look at that, but look at all the possible corruption. I mean, Hunter, he's selling paintings for over $1 million. You know, my 6-year-old daughter does better paintings than him. Maybe we'll put ours up and see what kind of things she can fix. I don't think we're going to get $1 million on it.
You know, every time I hear DeSantis speak, I'm more and more impressed with him on a national stage. I'm not a DeSantis guy, as you know. I'm a Trump guy. I don't know that the support for Donald Trump is anti-Ron DeSantis. It's not. It's pro-Trump. This is why these guys ought to team up. For crying out loud. What is it going to take for the egos to be set aside and we look at 2024 at a Trump-DeSantis ticket? What's not to like about Ron DeSantis? I do not buy this narrative that he's not likable. Sorry. Okay, he doesn't have the charisma or the bombastic personality of Donald Trump. So what? Nobody does. DeSantis is fine. Every time I hear him interviewed or I see him give a speech, I'm thinking, man, he checks every box for me. And again, I say that as a Trump supporter. I say that knowing that Trump was the greatest president of my lifetime. And I'll enthusiastically climb over broken glass to support Trump again. But it's wild that people kind of run with a narrative like this. Oh, DeSantis isn't likable. He's too awkward. He doesn't have a great personality. He's too stiff. Are you listening to him? Do you know what he did in Florida, what he's been doing in Florida? You look at his track record. You hear what he says about Ukraine. You hear what he says about the border. You hear what he says about a warped justice system. He checks every box. It's amazing. The point is, you can't outdo this guy. No matter who you are, you're not going to out-Trump Trump. There is only one guy, and it's this guy.
Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, has said that he believes that we're on the verge of opening an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. What do you think about this? Well, I mean, obviously, you've gone through it twice. Do you think that's right. Joe Biden should be impeached?
They impeached me over a perfect phone call. Mm-hmm. This guy's stolen millions of dollars and done worse than that. I mean, look at what he's done to the country with the inflation, with the energy, with taking away people's rights, with the DOJ, weaponized DOJ. No, I mean, it's they impeached me over a perfect phone call. And here's a guy stolen millions of dollars and done other things that are so bad. Our country is in a position where it's so sad to see what's happening.
I mean, is that you think they should proceed?
I don't want to comment on it, but I think people understand. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We'll see what they do. Let them make their decision, but they should do the proper thing. Let them make their decision.
That's President Trump sitting down with Breitbart News. So let me turn it over to you. 800-655-Mike. It's 15 past the hour. Number one, do you think that the Republicans, in the light of this Devon Archer testimony, should proceed with impeaching Biden? Here's a great text message from Florida. Mike, it's not a waste of time for the Republicans to impeach Biden. I would venture to say that at least 50% of Americans don't even know what Biden's role was, what Joe Biden's role was with Hunter. Investigate it. At least the mainstream media will be forced to cover it, and then people will be informed. You're right, Florida. Of course the Republicans should be impeaching Joe Biden. Do you agree or disagree? And number two, do you agree with me that this narrative that Ron DeSantis isn't likable and he's a bad candidate and he's awkward, that falls flat? That isn't even realistic. Jeff in Montana. We'll start with you. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you?
I enjoy listening to your show every day when I get off work because I work night shift.
That's very kind of you. Appreciate it, Jeff.
So I guess I'll start with the top part. I'm a Trump supporter, but at the same time, I worry about him being able to convert or get everybody, the independents, all the other stuff that DeSantis might be able to win.
Yep, I get it.
And just playing poker with that, you know?
Well, yeah, because we're rolling the dice because you could be right, but you could be wrong. You know,
exactly. I think he would do a better job than DeSantis, but if we can get the votes for DeSantis, we still need that in office.
Right. So how do you get the votes for DeSantis knowing how passionate most Trump supporters are about Trump?
Well, I think that when it comes down to it, a Trump supporter still going to vote for DeSantis, but not necessarily a DeSantis voter would vote for Trump.
A Trump supporter would vote for DeSantis, but it would. Well, you could be right. I mean, I will say, you've hit upon something that's really important. I've gotten some emails and text messages that are very alarming. And you know what they say? I'm a Trump supporter, and no way, no how will I ever vote for anybody but Trump. I love you. I say this with love. I say this respect. That's the stupidest position you could take. That is the absolute most destructive, un-American thing you could do. We got to let the process play out here. Let the primary voters decide. I'm pretty confident it's going to be Donald Trump. If it's not, you got to support the person with the R behind their name. Sorry. You cannot dig your heels in, and I'm hoping that you're only saying that because you're caught up in the passion and the emotion of the moment. You cannot say you'll never vote for DeSantis, you'll never vote for anybody but Trump. Listen, you're not going to find anybody more enthusiastic about Trump's presidency than me. I'm with you, but we got to accept that whoever the Republican nominee is, we should support. Good to hear from you, sir, and thanks again for your kind words. Dick is in Orlando, Florida. Hi, Dick. How are you?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing good.
Good.
In answer to your first query, I believe that Biden should be impeached, but I would like to define that a little bit, or at least the issue.
Sure.
We are letting them frame the debate in a bad way. They are not selling the Biden name, and they are not selling a brand. They are selling a position. They're selling his Senate seat when he was a senator. They're selling his vice presidential.
They're selling out the country.
They're selling the presidency.
You're right. It's a great way to look at it.
No one would pay a nickel for Biden's name. That's my first one.
I got you. No, and I'm up against the clock here, Dick. But you're right. I mean, they've sold out America. They've sold out the country, which is what I mean about it being borderline, if not downright treasonous. I'm sorry. What else would you call that? Anybody who is selling their name to profit personally on your position, and you're right. It's not selling the name. It's selling the position. It's selling the office. It's selling the office of the vice presidency, which is dreadful.